Most people who struggle with pornography are not struggling because they don't care. They care deeply. They pray genuinely. They make real commitments with real intention behind them. And then sometimes within days, sometimes within hours, they are back in the same place wondering what is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with them. The problem is not the person. The problem is the approach. And the approach almost every church, every accountability partner, and every well-meaning Christian mentor recommends is built on a foundation that cannot hold the weight being placed on it. That foundation is willpower. And here is why it keeps failing. The brain has layers. The outermost layer, the prefrontal cortex, is where willpower lives. It is rational, measured, forward-thinking. It is the part of you that makes commitments, sets goals, and genuinely means it when it says never again. But pornography consumed repeatedly over time does not stay in that layer. It migrates deeper into the limbic system, the part of the brain that governs emotion, memory, and reward. A structure that is older, faster, and significantly more powerful than rational thought, especially under conditions of stress, loneliness, exhaustion, or emotional pain. When those conditions arrive, and they always arrive, the limbic system responds before the prefrontal cortex can intervene. The pull is felt before the commitment is remembered. The behavior happens before the intention has a chance to speak. This is not moral failure. This is neuroscience. Romans 7:19, Paul described this exact experience with a precision that modern psychology is still catching up to. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do this, I keep on doing. Paul was not confessing weakness of faith. He was accurately describing the internal architecture of a human being at war with itself. Two systems, operating at different speeds, pulling in different directions. Willpower belongs to one system, the struggle belongs to another, and sending willpower alone into that fight is like bringing a flashlight to a wildfire. It is not nothing, it is just not enough. Every repeated behavior is meeting a need. Not excusing a need, meeting one. Providing something the person has not found another way to access. Relief from anxiety, escape from emotional numbness, a dopamine response to chronic stress. A substitute for intimacy that feels controllable in a life where genuine connection feels dangerous. Willpower says, stop doing the thing. But it never asks the more important question. Why does the thing feel necessary in the first place? And without an honest answer to that question, the behavior will return. Every time the underlying need intensifies, every time the emotional trigger fires, every time life produces the specific kind of pressure that this specific behavior has been trained to relieve. Proverbs 20:5. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. The deep water is where the actual work happens, not on the surface where the behavior is visible, but in the interior, where the need lives that the behavior is serving. Practically, this means asking with honesty and without self-condemnation, what am I feeling in the moments before this happens? What does this give me that I am not getting elsewhere? What wound, what loneliness, what unmet need is this behavior attempting, however destructively, to address? Those questions are uncomfortable. They are also the questions that lead somewhere willpower alone never reaches. Here is the contradiction that keeps everything locked in place. Willpower is a private discipline. And because this struggle carries shame, shame that is heavy, specific, and deeply personal, it almost always stays private. Hidden in the silence where it first took root, managed alone, fought alone, failed alone. But isolation is not a neutral condition for this particular struggle. It is the condition the cycle requires to survive. Shame needs darkness. Secrecy needs silence. The cycle needs the privacy that isolation provides, because in genuine community, with honest accountability, the cycle loses the environment it depends on. James 5:16, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. Not managed, not suppressed, healed. The path to that healing moves through honest relationship, a trusted friend, a counselor trained in this specific area, a recovery community built on grace rather than performance, someone who knows the full truth and does not leave. That kind of community does not make the struggle comfortable. It makes the silence unsustainable, and an unsustainable silence is where real recovery begins. The shame that insists this must stay hidden is not conviction. Conviction leads toward healing. Shame leads away from it, back into the dark, back into the isolation, back into the cycle. You were never designed to fight this alone. That is not a comfort, that is the design. 3 reasons willpower alone cannot carry this. It operates from a layer of the brain the struggle has already bypassed. It addresses behavior without touching the root need underneath it, and it demands the isolation that gives the cycle everything it needs to survive. This is not a message about what you lack. It is a message about what you need that willpower was never designed to provide. Truth about the root, honest community, grace that goes deeper than behavior management and reaches the places where real healing actually begins. That healing is not theoretical. It is available. It is closer than the shame makes it feel. And it starts not with more willpower, but with one honest conversation you have been putting off for too long.